Alright, so my day was interesting. Not gonna lie, a few things happened that were pretty disappointing. Let's get into it. Things started out decent enough. Woke up, did my morning routine, threw my headphones on, and pulled up a new Digital Foundry video. John Letterman, Oliver Mackenzie, and Richard Ledbetter going back and forth on console pricing right now. How it might affect the market going forward. Especially with a PS6 potentially landing at $1,000, and it's pretty obvious the next Xbox is going to be in that same range. John specifically was airing his grievances about AI eating up so much computing power that it's turning consumer electronics into a luxury hobby instead of something everybody used to have access to. But they did point out a silver lining, at least right now with physical media games from the PS4 and early PS5 era. They're so plentifully printed that people who are done with them sell them dirt cheap on eBay or Facebook Marketplace. And honestly, that got me thinking about my own relationship with gaming these days. If you've watched my other videos, you know most of my time lately gets eaten up by YouTube content. I still game, but I'm not fully invested the way I used to be. When I do play, I'm usually half listening to a podcast at the same time. Unless it's something that demands my full attention, something like Uncharted or Tears of the Kingdom or a Mario game, games where you can just feel how much care went into every single decision, and it deserves your full focus. So basically, how much attention I give a game depends entirely on how much effort clearly went into making it, both on an experience and as just plain fun. That's exactly why when it comes to physical copies, I'm picky. If I know a game had real love and craft put into it, I want it on disc. Expedition 33 is a perfect example. I refuse to watch a single cutscene or playthrough clip on YouTube. People say that's the free, easy way to experience it, but to me, the whole point of a video game is playing it yourself. Watching someone else gives you a sense of it, sure, but it's not the same as building your own experience with the software. And with all the praise Expedition 33's been getting, I know that it's a game worth owning outright. Same logic applies to Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which I actually asked for as a Christmas gift from a family friend. Genuinely glad I did. That game looks incredible, it sounds incredible, the direction is impeccable. I play it on and off and my brain keeps nagging me to go back to it. What I have played has been really engaging. I just keep putting it off around for some reason. And then there's Astrobot, which I asked for as a birthday gift for my 26th on PS5. It had me playing for hours on end. I didn't even notice the time pass by. Genuinely one of the most engaging games I've played in a while. And I'm so glad I have it on a physical disc. Means nobody can ever take it away from me. Quick side note though, not every physical copy is a true physical copy anymore. Some, like Indiana Jones, is only partially on the disc. The rest you're downloading from a server. But games like Astrobot and Expedition 33, from what I've researched, are fully printed, which is great. Honestly, because that means they're preserved. Doesn't matter how far in the future you go, that copy still works. Speaking of ownership, I had a PlayStation Plus Premium for 2 years. First year and a half, genuinely fun. Second year, I barely touched half the library, and I think that's the real problem with subscription libraries. Games take real time and focus to actually finish, and between that and real life responsibilities, dumping money into a rotating library of stuff you don't even own just makes everything feel less valuable. When I only had one game for PS2 or Wii growing up, I cherished it. Even something as mid as SpongeBob or the Blob game was great because that's all I had. Plus, 3 free games a month went from exciting to overwhelming pretty fast. My brain was just like, I don't have enough hours in my life for all of this. I originally upgraded to the premium because I got a PSVR 2 headset and they were bundling VR titles into the subscription model. It was great for about a year, but then they just yanked all those VR games from the library. So now I don't have access to those games I was actively enjoying, unless I want to pay full price to buy a license Sony can revoke whenever they feel like it. Which, by the way, terrible. Anyway, after that, I switched over to watching some guys play through Acme Arsenal on Wii, one of those bad games compilation channels. That game did not look great. Was eating an onion bagel with some coffee during the Digital Foundry video, and then I had some ice cream and coffee during that Acme Arsenal, by the way. Oh, and earlier that morning, our family friend asked if I wanted anything from the store. I remember we wanted a diet soda, so I asked for that. Turned out there wasn't any A&W Zero Sugar left, just two, Squirt and some tropical 7-Up variant. They were pretty good, but luckily there was some extra A&W in the back of that store that our family friend was able to get to, so that was great. So we got that. I hung out with my sister. The mantis molted. The spider scared the daylights out of her by bolting across the terrarium. Then I had my doctor's appointment, which, if you've been following this whole saga, you'd know is part of that plasma donation thing. Quick recap for anyone new. One of the intake questions asked if I had any heart issues. I answered unsure because sometimes after eating salty food, I'd get a pinch in my chest. I've actually been more careful with my sodium since then, and gratefully, haven't felt it in a while. So I drove out, checked in, got a call back, went through vitals, blood work, the whole thing, and the results, genuinely good. Everything came back nice and healthy, only slightly off with the cholesterol, and even then that wasn't flagged as something that would affect donating. But then I asked the actual question I needed answered. Could I donate plasma twice a week, since that's the standard frequency the center wanted signed off on? And that's where it got frustrating. The doctor just wasn't comfortable clearing that, even after telling me I was completely fine health-wise. Said they'd rather me do it once a month instead of twice a week. I brought up that the FDA considers twice a week donations as safe as long as it's properly spaced, and that I've donated at other centers before without any issues. But at the end of the day, it came down to them just not knowing me well enough to feel comfortable putting that in writing. Which, honestly, I get it. That's a real liability thing on their end, but it was still a little bit frustrating because as far as my actual health goes, there was nothing there. After I left, I called my mom because she'd been trying to reach me during the appointment. Told her everything that happened. And honestly, in a weird way, it felt like a sign to just slow down and be a little more careful about how I go about things in general. I also called the donation center to update them, and they basically said their hands were tied. If the paperwork says no on twice weekly, that's a legal requirement they have to follow. But they did mention I could go to a different center. So now I know that I'm actually healthy. I think that might be on the cards. Moving forward, I'd need a doctor who actually has an established relationship with me if I want to go back to that center I was trying to get into. But the silver lining is, broadly, my body's in good shape, so that's great. I just need to work on the cholesterol. Frustrating on the donation front, but I'll take that health win. Then I drove back. Mom made spaghetti. She wasn't home yet, so I dished myself a bowl, threw on a UAP GURB video about compartmentalized government programs and how these UAP-related facilities are supposedly structured in this pyramid. Private contractors at the bottom, all the way up through multiple agencies to the president at the top. Genuinely interesting stuff. Then this is the part that actually ruined my day. I checked the news on my phone, and Sony announced they're ending physical disc production for PlayStation entirely, starting January 2028. This is hands down some of the worst news a console gamer could hear. Physical media matters because it gives the consumer actual power. You can buy it, sell it, trade it, get it cheaper secondhand. Take that away, and you're completely at Sony's mercy on pricing forever, on a digital-only storefront. Right now, you can find something like Cyberpunk dirt cheap used. That entire option disappears. And my guess is the PS6 either won't have a disk drive at all, or it'll be some optional external USB drive tacked on for diehards. On top of that, when you buy digital, you're not actually buying the game. You're buying a license Sony can revoke whenever they decide to. And they basically proved that exact point in the same announcement because alongside killing physical discs, they also announced they're shutting down the PS3 and Vita storefronts. I get those platforms are old, but it just underlines the whole problem. When a digital storefront closes, everything that only existed there just disappears. Unless people downloaded and archived everything themselves, which most people don't. And that's before you even get into storage. SSDs are expensive right now, and going full digital means you're leaning on that expensive storage entirely, with no physical backup copy to fall back on if you ever needed to delete and reinstall down the line. So yeah, that's pretty much sealed it for me. I'm not buying a PS6. I'm going full PC going forward. And I'm only buying DRM free titles from here on out, so that when I buy something, I actually own it. This is just straight up anti-consumer, and it's a disaster for game preservation. No way around it. After that gut punch, I finished my spaghetti. 3 bowls in hindsight, way too much. Kept the UAP GER video going. Then afterwards, I told my sister that whole PlayStation situation. She agreed completely. Stripping power away from consumers is never a good thing. Needing to clear my head, so I grabbed the Switch and I played some Metroid Prime Remastered. It's a great game. My sister was vibing with the boss music during that fight against that giant rolling rock monster you have to hit in its weak points. Mom got home not long after. She'd picked up chocolate cream pie, ice cream, and root beer from the fridge. We all sat down and split those sodas from earlier together, which was a nice little reset after the day I had. Then we watched a new episode of The Y-Files, this one on Sodom and Gomorrah, and the theory that a meteor impact could explain a lot of it. Around Stone Disc, a Palm-based city, people froze to positions of horror, generally one of the more interesting episodes. Started getting tired after that. Mom put on a Christian podcast. I laid down on the couch. I threw on a Robert Monroe meditation and just passed out. I woke up feeling heavy and greasy. Pretty sure that was the 3 bowls of spaghetti catching up with me. I drank a ton of water to make up for it. I wanted to start on an all-butter pie crust, but the butter needed freezer time I didn't have left in the day, so that got pushed to tomorrow. Instead, I watched a behind-the-scenes breakdown of a film scene and all the work that went into it. Toy Story 5, by the way. Always enjoy that kind of stuff. I printed out the pie recipe for tomorrow, and then I ended the night playing a game called Legendary Tales on PSVR 2. I finished that Digital Foundry video and put on a Moore's Law is Dead video breaking down how bad this whole PlayStation decision really is. And then I sat down to record all of this for you. So that's the day. Frustrating in a couple spots, but honestly, knowing I am healthy is worth a lot more than knowing I'm cleared to donate plasma twice at that specific location. That's a trade I'll be willing to take. Well, that's going to do it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.